Oh my goodness. Hi, everybody. Hi. You know what time it is? That's right. It's story time with me, Miss Jessica. Everyone say hi, Miss Jessica. Ooh. For today's story in this Pride season, we're bringing you some of my favorite books that we get to read together. Today's story is Perfectly Norman by Tom Percival. You know, Norman had always been perfectly normal until he grew a pair of wings. Ooh, I'm so excited, aren't you? Here's a little message from the author, Tom. Norman loves his new wings, but he's worried about what everyone will think. After all, they're definitely not normal. He decides to cover them with a coat, but hiding such a big part of his life makes him feel miserable. Can Norman find the courage to be himself? Well, let's find out, because this bold and uplifting book is about daring to be different and celebrating what makes you, you. Perfectly Norman. Norman had always been normal, perfectly normal, until one day he grew a pair of wings. Norman had imagined growing taller or growing a beard like his dad, but he had never imagined growing a pair of wings. Have you ever thought about growing wings? I know I have. Still, they were here now, and he decided to test them out right away. Soon, Norman was swooping around and generally having the most fun ever! But then, he had to go in for dinner. You see, Norman had always been so normal, he didn't even know how his parents would feel about his extraordinary wings. As he went in, Norman covered himself up in a great big coat. His parents didn't notice the wings, but they did think it was odd to be wearing a coat indoors. Bath time was problematic, so was bedtime. The coat was hot and uncomfortable, but Norman had decided that no one should ever see his wings ever. It's pretty sad. The next day, Norman went to the park, but he was far too hot to play any of his favorite games. And so it went on. Poor Norman. Long car journeys were unbearable. The swimming pool was dreadful. And that was nothing compared to his friend's birthday party. That coat has to be so hot. The only time that Norman could feel normal was when it rained. Oh. One day, a boy tried to pull his coat off, and Norman had to run away, hot-faced, angry, and sad. That wasn't very nice. He wished he'd never grown those stupid wings. Aww. Then he saw some birds high up in the sky and remembered the joy of his first flight. It occurred to Norman that it was the coat that was making him miserable, not the wings. "Why don't you take that scruffy old thing off?" suggested his mom and dad. Norman looked up at them hesitantly. His parents smiled and nodded. Norman smiled back, and he threw off the coat and let his wonderful wings fan out. Norman leapt into the air. Finally, he was free of the coat. He noticed a few other children wearing thick, heavy coats of their own. They looked up at Norman and around at one another nervously. There was a moment's pause, and then, whoosh! The sky was filled with flying people. Norman had never felt so happy. See, he wasn't alone. He realized that there was no such thing as perfectly normal. But he was perfectly Norman, which was just as it should be. Yay! This is one of my favorite books because it doesn't matter who you are, if you have wings or not, or if you wear a coat or not, you should be able to be happy and comfortable being exactly who you are, no matter who that person's meant to be, each and every day. And we should love those people that are around us that are trying to do the same. This was Story Time with Miss Jessica. Until next time, bye.